Welcome to the Escape into Board Games podcast.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
And this is our escape from the real world where we talk about board games. In this episode, we talk about trick-taking games.
So please join us for the Escape into Board Games podcast. We define the term board games to mean several different things.
Sometimes you're sitting around a table, and sometimes you're running around the whole house.
Sometimes you're creating the board while you play, and sometimes the board doesn't exist.
Sometimes you are strategizing and planning, and sometimes you're improvising and acting.
Sometimes a board game is what we collectively refer to as a card game.
We call all of these board games.
We are drilling down on a specific type of card game in this episode. Trick-taking is a type of game and mechanism that most of us are familiar with.
There are literally hundreds of trick-taking games in existence, with more being created each year.
Even if you're not familiar with trick-taking games, you've definitely played one before.
Whenever we teach one of these games to someone new, we'll hear things like, "Oh, this is just like euchre, or hearts, or wizard."
In this episode, we explore just a few of our favorite games that do the trick. Chris, I learned about the game of euchre in high school.
Okay.
Euchre's a funny game in that you need 4 players, 4 willing participants to play this weird card game where the ace is not the most powerful card in the deck.
Right.
It took some convincing.
I have played euchre. I learned it quite late in life. I think I was in my 30s. Sherry taught it to me. And we didn't play it terribly much, but I was not very good at it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a game where you want to have everybody be similar skill level.
Yeah.
But can you give me like a quick rundown of how it works?
It's a weird one, right? And my brother's often asking if, when I come over for game night, if we can play something simple like euchre. And he always refers to euchre as being the simplest board game imaginable. And I impress upon him that it's only because he learned it when he was a teenager that he thinks that way.
Right.
Because it is kind of convoluted. The cards you're dealing with are from 9 to the ace, but the ace isn't the highest card, depending on which suit you're in. And when we're dealing with trump, let's say on this round, hearts or trump. Well, the highest card is going to be the jack of hearts.
Okay.
The second highest card is going to be the jack of diamonds because it's also red. And those are called the left and right bowers. And that's just what they call them. And now we're just giving names to stuff. It just gets to be confusing for no good reason. So in a game of euchre, everybody gets 5 cards and we are in pairs. When you play with the player opposite the table from you.
Right.
Whoever leads chooses a card from their hand and they play it down. Let's say it's the 9 of hearts. Everybody around the table has to play a red heart from their hand if they have it in their hand. That's the rules. You have to follow suit. This is one of the hallmarks of a trick-taking game.
Right.
If you don't have the red heart in your hand, you can play anything you want. And you could strategically play a trump card that will win the trick.
When you play offsuit is usually the fun part of a trick-taking game.
Yeah.
There's this rule that we all have to follow suit and play the same suit that was played. But when you don't have that card in your hand, that's when the strategy, the planning, the excitement comes in. That's when you get to screw with your other players or get the points for yourself, depending on the game.
Yeah, exactly. And in a game of euchre, it's all about getting all the points, getting all the tricks, scoring as much as you can. Go, go, go. You want a hand of all high cards when you start the round, and you want to win everything all the time. And so I thought that was also a hallmark of a trick-taking game. But we're about to learn in this episode that that's not the case at all.
Right. Well, in Hearts, the game that I grew up playing, the object is to get the fewest points, to score the lowest amount of points in the game, and to not collect the cards that are worth points.
Okay.
In a game of Hearts, all the heart cards and the Queen of Spades are all worth negative points, basically, or points that you don't want. All the heart points are worth 1 point, and the queen of spades for some reason is worth 13.
Okay.
And you are winning tricks and controlling the play of the game, but you don't want to win any hearts. And the only time you can play hearts is when you don't have the suit that's available. That's the standard trick-taking thing.
Right.
So when you don't have the suit that's available, you can play hearts to give your opponents points, or you can play any card you want to get rid of cards. You might have the ace of spades, for example. That might force you to take the queen of spades because you have to play it if someone plays spades, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the other part of hearts, you can collect all of the hearts and the queen of spades. And if you get every single bad point card, that's called shooting the moon, and you get 0 points, and everyone else gets, I think it's 26 points in the table. So it's a big risk, but a higher reward as well. And that's a big part of hearts.
Yeah, the shooting the moon component or mechanism is another hallmark that we see throughout trick-taking games.
Exactly. As a young kid, we played hearts all the time, like all the time. I've probably played over 1,000 games of hearts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was so young playing it with my mom and dad on vacation, on weekends.
Nice.
And playing it so much that they would just destroy me.
Oh, wow.
Like destroy me. They weren't holding back because I was the kid in around the table and staying up, 3 hours past my bedtime to continue playing the game. And I would be in tears sometimes, like just so disappointed. Like, no.
So that's not teams and you don't need 4 players. You can play it at any point?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Hearts is sort of individual.
Yeah.
It works like a lot of trick-taking games.
Hearts, euchre, bridge, pinochle, they all use a standard deck of cards. Wizard and rook use a slightly modified but very familiar deck of cards. There's a couple of extra cards in there.
Yeah.
There are a ton of trick-taking games out there.
Yeah. Other ones that people might be familiar with are Whist, Napoleon, and Scat. I don't think I've played too many of those. I might have played 1 or 2 as a kid. I've said this before. My dad was living Hoyle's rule book of card games.
Nice.
And he showed us a lot of different games throughout the years. So I may have played them and don't even remember. More modern trick-taking games include
Tichu,
Scout,
Skull King,
Fox in the Forest, which we talked about in the Date Night at the Board Game Cafe episode,
Haggis,
and Diamonds. My personal favorite trick-taking game is a game called Stick'em. Stick'em is a trick-taking game for 3 to 8 players, ages 10 and up, that plays in about 30 to 60 minutes. Stick'em was designed by Klaus Palesch and was published by Amigo in 1993. Stick'em, like the name says, is really about trying to stick your opponents with cards that they don't want at the end of each round.
Okay.
In the beginning of the round, each player is going to pick a card from their hand. We'll all play it face up simultaneously. And that becomes your pain suit. That's the suit that is going to cause you pain because it's giving you negative points.
Okay.
This is a game that you can play and win with a negative score. Like, I have -3 and I'm the best at this game. So that's totally the way this game works.
The second player is -6 and the third player is -9.
Or -40.
Wow, okay.
Not mentioning any names, of course. Now, just because I said it was my favorite game doesn't mean I'm necessarily very good at
Nice.
it. It has been called a very mean game, that's for sure.
Right.
Stick'em is really quite an easy and simple game when you just look at the rules.
Yeah.
And it almost sounds like it wouldn't work. Like it's just so simple. It's like, what am I doing? Flipping cards?
Yeah.
But there is a lot more challenge there and a couple different strategic options of what you can do. Part of what I do love about it is you can play it with anybody. I mean, anybody who's played Hearts or Euchre or any of those games is familiar with this kind of game. The rules in the game can be taught in 30 seconds. Someone plays a card, and you should follow suit, but you don't have to. But if everyone follows suit, then it's whoever played the highest number wins. And if anyone plays off suit, it plays a different color than what was led.
But you have to play, if you can, you have to follow.
That's a good question. Actually, no.
Oh.
There are no restrictions on what you can play when you can play it.
Okay.
So you can lead with blue, and even though I have blue cards in my hand, they could be high cards would let me win the trick, or low cards that would let you win the trick. I can play any card color from my hand. I can play blue or yellow.
Wow. Okay. That's really unique.
Yeah, there's not many rules. So it's really, really simple to play. And what happens is if you play off suit, a different color than what was led, you win the trick. If two people or more play off suit, then it's the highest number of those. So I played an 11 yellow and someone else played a red 8. Well, the 11 yellow is higher, so it wins the trick.
Yeah.
The catch, though, is when I play that 11 yellow, now everyone's looking at my pain suit, which might have been red, for example, and they can play any color they want to make me take all those red cards.
Oh.
So they can play red cards that will go into my negative points at the end of this round, or they can follow suit. They can play anything they want. They can dump.
Wow.
They can dump high cards because they don't want to win too many, or they can dump some low cards, or whatever it is that their strategy is. They can do that.
Right. So, are you ever trying to win a trick?
Yeah, you might have to ask somebody who's better at it than I played it. I don't know, a half dozen, 8 times, something like that. But I haven't played it enough to really know this is what I like to do when I'm in Stickum.
Yeah.
And whenever I teach it to someone, they're always asking that question because it is so different than the other trick-taking games.
Yeah.
They're like, well, should I keep my high cards or should I keep my low cards? And that really depends on what's in your hand, right?
Okay.
I mean, you want to win the card because every card at the end of the round is worth points. They're all worth 1 point unless they're in your pain color or your pain suit.
Right.
And those cards are worth negative points
Okay.
of the value of the card.
Wow.
So depending on how many people you're playing with, some of the cards I think go up to 12 or 14. So collecting one of those negative red cards that you put in your pain suit, it could be worth minus 14 points.
Yeah.
So you get a bunch of those, you could be at minus 30 for that round.
In a single hand.
In a single hand, it could go like that.
Ouch.
And there's a lot of cards. You deal out every card in the deck, and you play until the cards are gone. And then every card that isn't in your pain suit is only worth 1 point. Doesn't matter the number. But the negative points come from the color of your pain suit.
Cool.
The game kind of plays with your head a little bit because we're all used to this basic set of rules and trick-taking games. And every time I explain Stickum to someone, I always find it a little difficult, and I find myself questioning, is that how that works? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Is that the strategy? I don't know. But that's part of what I love about the game is it messes with your head and plays so differently, and I think quite creatively for a trick-taking game. That's why I love it. And it plays up to 8. Not too many card games will play that many players right out of the box.
How many?
8. 3 to 8 players.
That is an extraordinary number of people.
Yeah. The bad part is most of my gaming is done with my wife, Sherry, and we can't play this one together. We have to have a third person to play. And it's okay at 3. It's much better at 4 and up. And I've never actually played it with the full count of 8. I imagine that would be absolute chaos and very difficult to figure out your points. But I definitely want to try that sometime.
Nice. I'd like to play that one at some point. I'd like to try that one.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. I am loving it. I can't get quite enough of it. It's a great game.
So we're going to go from your favorite trick-taking game to a trick-taking game that won the Spiel des Jahres in 2020.
Oh, did it win the Spiel des Jahres? Really? That's awesome.
The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9 is a cooperative trick-taking game for 3 to 5 players ages 10 and up that plays in about 10 minutes. The Crew was designed by Thomas Singh and published by Cosmos in 2020. In The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9, all the players at the table are aboard a spaceship with a series of missions that they need to complete.
The first few missions of the game are training missions where you learn the mechanisms and the rules of the game while you play.
It's a very familiar trick-taking game, but now they've included a logbook where you have to keep track of certain informations from game to game. Each player is playing a very crucial crew member aboard the spaceship, We all need to do our part in order to execute the objective. But of course, the objective is usually a certain card needs to go to a certain player.
Right. Yeah, it's not about how many tricks you win as an individual or even as a group. It's about winning the right tricks at the right time that counts.
Which makes this game so unique, and it feels so familiar because, trick-taking games, I understand the highest card I'm going to win. I've got some trump cards, but in this game, they're rockets, which is kind of unique. The suits don't change, but rockets always trump.
Yeah, I mean, the simple fact that it's a cooperative trick-taking game, that makes all the difference right there in terms of, a unique trick-taking game. It's cooperative. It's fantastic.
Yeah. This space exploration theme is super, super thin, but it does give us context for writing in the logbook. And is it level 5? Is it level 6? No, it's mission 6. It's mission 7.
Right.
And we are all aboard, right? The ship working together as a team. Even though the theme is paper thin, the teamwork that is required
right,
is crucial, which is why I think it's been themed like this. It could have been this, or it could have been an underwater submarine.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so
Mission Deep Sea.
That's right. Mission Deep Sea was the sequel to The Quest for Planet 9. The crew was so popular and such a hit right off the bat that they followed it up with another one very quickly, but neither Chris or I have played it.
Yeah.
But we are told that it is everything that this game is, but with a little bit more. And so if you're ever in the position to purchase the Deep Sea Adventures version rather than the Deep Space Nine version, then go with that.
Yeah, we like the crew a lot. The base game comes with 50 missions.
Yeah.
So we've never made it through all 50. Every time we play it, we usually are playing with someone new. So we go through the training mission, then we play 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah. And then sort of jump around a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the game is designed so that if you play with the same group, or Sherry and I can play the same, we go through the training mission, and then maybe the next day we do the next 3 or 4 missions. And then you just kind of remember where you are in the mission log, and you continue your mission from there. That's not how we've played it. But so I've never gotten past the 35th mission. I'm sure it gets better and better as the game goes along. But as we go, we just haven't played it that much.
Yeah.
And that's why we've never invested in Mission Deep Sea, the next one.
Right, because there's still so much game left to explore.
Yeah, I feel like once we've gone through all 50 missions, then it'll be like, okay, maybe we sell this game and we pick up the new one. It's a very good game. When I heard the space theme, I was in all the way. I was like, okay, thinly pasted on theme or not, I was all the way in.
Sure.
And the fact that it was a cooperative trick-taking game, I was like, oh, that's really different.
It is really different. Yeah. I like the take on that. There is a sort of limited communication aspect. Like once you've dealt out all the cards, you can't tell everybody at the table which cards you have in your hands, of course.
Right.
But the mission would be the green 4 has to go to player 2. And then you look across the table. Player 2 is Sherry. She's got to win the green 4. And it's in my hand, and so I've got to make sure that when she plays the green 6, that's when I play the 4, so it's going to go to her.
Right.
And then as soon as she gets it, we don't have to play the rest of the hands. She's completed the mission. All the cards go back together. We shuffle them all up, and then we play the next mission. Maybe the next mission is the 6 has to go to Chris,
right,
and the 2 has to go to Matt. And now we got 2 different cards that have to go to 2 different players. And you would be surprised at how many times and how many different ways that reiteration can be folded and refolded. And like you said, there's 50 different missions in the box.
Yeah. In some of the missions, you may have to win a certain number of tricks, but it may happen that Matt has to win this specific card before anyone else wins these other cards.
Yeah.
You draw these little task cards, and they tell you specifically what card you have to take in each mission.
Like the pink 2 or the green 6.
Yeah. A mission might say, Matt has to take the pink 2 and Chris has to take the green 6. And then a slightly more complex one might say, Matt has to take the pink 2, but not before Chris has taken the green 7 and not before Sherry's taken the yellow 5 or something.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
And each mission just changes the rules just slightly, or the goals of the trick that you have to do cooperatively. And it gets progressively more difficult and progressively more complex in terms of what you have to do and when you can do them and how hard it is to do it.
Right.
As the game goes on, I think the rules get complex for new gamers, that kind of thing. That I think it could turn some players off.
Yeah. The later missions could be,
the later missions
get a bit daunting.
But I've played the training mission and the first few missions several times with a few different people, and it works. Like, it's a big hit, and almost everyone has liked it. I don't think anyone's not liked it. And it works well with 2 players, which is kind of nice.
Oh, nice. 2 players has modified rules.
But they work well, I think.
Cool. And then it does go up to 5, Yeah. It can be quite frustrating when you think it's going to go one way, and then all the other players at the table are like, let's do this. And you're like, no, but the card's in my hand, no. And then, they're like, well, way to go, everybody. And then you drop your hand and you shuffle again and start over.
Yeah, and that's where the limited verbal communication comes in, right? You're not allowed to provide very much information to your partners because you're just trying to do it. In any game like that, you just think, oh, everyone knows this means that, right? So I'm going to do this. And then they go, oh, no, you didn't play that card. That's what I meant. Oh,
Exactly.
It works really well.
Yeah. According to Board Game Geek, it's the highest rated trick-taking game out there. And I just adore that it's cooperative. We're all working together. We're going to get back to the show after a brief message. This next ad is for Chris's own company, Geeky Goodies. If you'd like to hear what an ad for your game, product, or website might sound like, drop us a line at escapeintoboardgames@gmail.com. When we escape into board games, we're always wearing our Geeky Goodies t-shirts.
They are great conversation starters for gamers and non-gamers.
But did you know that they also sell drink coasters, socks, mouse pads, cupcake toppers, and so much more?
All things board games.
All things geeky.
Visit geekygoodies.com and use coupon code ESCAPE for a 10% discount off your purchase. The next game that I want to talk about is based on a study that was done in the 70s by psychologist Walter Mischel at Stanford University. In this study, they took a child and they offered them the choice of 1 item of instant gratification or 2 if they waited for a longer period of time. That study was called the Marshmallow Experiment. And our game is the Marshmallow Test. Marshmallow Test is a delayed gratification trick-taking game for 2 to 5 players ages 10 and up that plays in about 20 minutes. The Marshmallow Test was designed by Reiner Knizia and published in 2020 by GameRight. You're not really recreating the Marshmallow Test, it's just a trick-taking game. It is a very interesting take on the trick-taking game. The catch with Marshmallow Test is you don't want to win all the tricks right away.
Okay.
You want to win the right number of tricks at just the right time. And it's kind of this sweet spot for victory and for how many points you get.
Okay.
The number of tricks that ends a round varies depending on how many players there are.
Okay.
With 5 players, once you've won 3 tricks, you're out of the round.
Okay.
With 2 players, you have to win 6. And what happens is once you've won that triggering element, so in a 5-player game, you've won 3 tricks, the number of tricks you have won has nothing to do with how many points you have. The points that you get is based on how many tricks every other player at the table has won. So Matt won 2, Sherry won 1, and Danny won 2.
Okay.
So that's 2 plus 1 plus 2. So I went out and I won 3 of my tricks. So I'm out of the round and I win 5 marshmallows for that.
Okay.
And then play continues without me. You keep playing until there's only 1 person left.
Right.
That player doesn't receive any marshmallows, but they become the dealer for the next round.
So you want to go out after everybody's won a ton of tricks, but you don't want to go out after everybody's won all their tricks because then you can't score at all.
Yes.
And so you're just trying to, you're trying to walk that tightrope. You're trying to thread that needle. You're trying to get right close, and then that's hard.
Yeah, it's like tricky. A little push your luck mechanism thrown into trick taking, right?
Yeah.
So you're holding back a few of your high cards because you want to win your fourth trick.
Yeah.
But you don't want to have too many because you'll get knocked out of the round earlier. So you're trying to, throw them away or not play them and not win those tricks until later. So you're playing your lesser tricks. You want to let everyone else get as many tricks as possible until basically the second last trick. If you can do that, you've optimized your score, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone has the maximum amount of points, and that's how many marshmallows you get, kind of thing. It's a difficult one to kind of get your head around when I'm explaining it because it messes with your head, right? In a trick-taking game, I want to win all the tricks or I want to lose all the tricks.
Yeah.
And in this game, you want to do both. Like you want to lose until it's time to win, and then you're going to win a bunch of them and win them all and then go out and get the maximum amount of points.
Yeah.
When you go out, if you're the first person out in the round, your 3 or 4 tricks that you won, whatever it was to trigger the end of the round, they count as points for everyone else. So you can't bundle up your tricks because they have to count for when Sherry goes out on her turn. So now she counts my 4 tricks and your 2 and, Danny's 2. And now she's got 4 plus 4 is 8 points. So she takes 8 marshmallows when she goes out. And then it's left to you and Danny. Whoever wins the last one's going to get that additional marshmallow.
And the game actually comes with marshmallows?
Marshmallow-shaped, soft, squishy pieces, not really tokens. They're pieces that look like marshmallows. And everybody always says, ooh, and they want to touch them. And often someone will say, can I eat these? The answer is always no. I don't know what they're made out of. Some sort of rubber, I guess. They're white.
Okay.
They look a lot like marshmallows. They look cute.
And they're just used for scoring.
Yeah, they're just used for points. The small ones are worth 1. The big ones are worth 5 points. And you just use them for keeping track of your score.
I have played Marshmallow Test. I had an opportunity to pick it up, and I didn't, and I regret it because I think it's just fantastic. It is quick. It is light. It's easy to pick up, and the rounds are very, very quick. And I like that push and pull of you want to win tricks right off the bat. You want to get 1, 2 tricks right as quickly as possible so that you're close to having your 3 tricks ready to go, right? You want to have your 3 tricks ready to go, but you don't want to win all your 3 tricks right off the bat. You want to wait.
Right.
You want other people to win more tricks. And it's so interesting, that familiar mechanism of trying to win tricks, playing off suit, all that stuff that we're so familiar with, but now we're applying it in a different way. And it really feels like there's still things in this mechanism that we haven't explored yet, that there's still room. There's still design space.
Yeah, that push your luck element is really, I feel, it feels very unique in this game and in this genre. And I like it a lot.
Yeah.
It's a game that everyone understands right away. It's like, okay, highest number wins. How many tricks do I need to get to win the game? No, it doesn't work like that. Oh, okay. How does it work? And then you have to explain this sort of, Reiner Knizia-esque kind of way.
You want to go out later, but not last.
Yeah.
It's so great.
And if you win all 3 tricks, if you win the first 3 tricks, you're out with 0 points. You don't get anything that whole round.
Yeah.
Every time I played it, it's a big hit.
Yeah.
Everybody likes it because, and this is just my theory, I feel like they like it because they know exactly how to play it right away.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy. We're starting right away. And then about midway through the first round, they go, oh.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. There's a difference between knowing how the game plays and how to play the game.
Yes, exactly. And then invariably somebody will say, oh, I have to get this game, or I like this game, or I want this game. And it's a big hit every time I play. It's very, very simple. Plays really fast.
And those marshmallows, oh my God.
They are cute, aren't they?
Yeah. So the Marshmallow Test is based on the Marshmallow Experiment. The next game we're going to present is also based on an experiment, the Schrodinger's box experiment. You're familiar with Schrodinger?
Yeah, that's cool. So this game is based on Schrodinger's cat?
Cat in the Box. Cat in the Box is a quantum trick-taking game for 3 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, that plays in about 30 minutes. Cat in the Box was designed by Muneyuki Yokoshi, and the deluxe edition was published by Bezier Games in 2023. Cat in the Box is probably the most robust and complicated game that we're going to present in this episode.
Interesting.
It's not that much more robust or more complicated than other trick-taking games, but there's a little bit more going on.
Okay.
Each player is given a handful of tokens and a little player board, and the cards in the game will belong to 4 suits colored red, yellow, blue, and green. Red is always the trump suit.
Okay.
The cards in the game are all black. And when you play the card from your hand, you get to decide what color it is. Your player board has 4 sides in the 4 different colors. If you play it to the left side, you're telling everybody it's a yellow card. And if you play it up top, then you're telling everybody it's red. There's a common player board in the middle of the table where you take the tokens that you were given at the beginning of the game and you place them on the board. So if you've played a black 4 from your hand, but said that it's red, then you put your token on the red 4 spot. Now that you've played a red 4, nobody else at the table can play a red 4.
Okay.
If they were to play a 4 from their hand, they would have to say it's yellow or blue or green. This is what makes this game so unique.
Yeah, that's really different. So all the cards are the same color. And the only way you distinguish between suits is indicating on this board in the middle of the table.
That's right.
Wow.
When you play your card from your hand, that's when you decide what color it is.
I'm making this 5 a green 5. It's black, but I'm going to make it green.
Exactly.
Wow, that's really neat.
So the first player takes a card from their hand and they put it down, and that's exactly what they say. This is a green 5. I've played a green 5. Everybody else at the table has to follow suit. The cards that they play from their hand have to be green.
Okay.
But maybe they don't have any green cards in their hand. I mean, all the cards are black.
Yeah.
They can just say they don't have any green cards in their hand. They can say they've run out of green cards and all the rest of the cards in their hand are other colors. They take one of their tokens and they place it on the green side. And from that point on, they can no longer play any green cards. But now that they can go off suit, anytime a green card is led.
So that's a decision that player is making.
Exactly.
They could totally have green cards.
Yeah.
It's just they've decided not to have green cards.
Yeah.
That is very different.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yes. So there's 4 suits. There's going to be 5 5s. There's going to be 5 6s. There's always going to be 1 extra card that won't be able to get played if the other 4s, the other 3s are able to play. There's always 1 extra.
Okay.
At the beginning of every round, every player can discard a card from their hand, and that's a strategic strategy that we're all using depending on what else is in their hand, right? If you have 5 5s in your hand, you're going to want to get rid of some. You can't play all of those cards.
Right.
It's such an interesting, again, push and pull with which cards are we going to keep, which cards we're going to play, what suit are they going to belong to when we play them.
Right. Very cool.
At the beginning of each round, we will predict how many tricks that we are able to win.
Okay.
So maybe I'm going to say, I'm going to win 3 tricks, or I'm going to win 4 tricks. We put a token on our player board to mark our prediction. And if we are correct, then we score extra points based on the tokens on the main player board. We will score little islands of tokens on the main player board. So if you played a red 3 and a red 2 and a yellow 2 and a green 2 and a blue 2, well, you've got 5 tokens that are all together touching each other orthogonally adjacent, and you can score 5 extra points.
Oh.
If you've predicted the right number of tricks, you're going to win that round. And that's another little thing, another little layer that they've laid onto this game that makes it so unique.
Yeah, this sounds amazing. I have to play it. Obviously, I haven't played this game. I have to play it. I'm completely sold on this. I'm going to be searching for a copy tomorrow.
It definitely takes a second to get your head around the card can belong to any color you want it to.
Yeah.
When you're playing, you're like, oh, I have to follow suit, but you could very easily bow out of a certain suit and then just play all the other colors for the rest of the round. what's fun is that you've always been given a good hand of cards. You always have trump cards in your hand. You always have any color you want. It's the decisions you make while you're playing and the cards that other players are playing that dictates the strategy and going forward. But we've played plenty of trick-taking games where you look at your hand and you go, well, we're not doing much with this hand here. Let's see if we can get through this. And maybe on the next round, we're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
But with Cat in the Box, it's a very different experience. Each hand of cards could be whatever you want it to be.
Very cool.
And I feel that there's more agency over your cards because you have the ability to change the suit as you're playing the hand, that it feels less random than regular trick-taking games.
I just love the way you described it. Like, it just sounds so interesting.
The tokens that each player gets in their player color are way over the top. They are little scientific symbols, like all the blue ones are little scientific beakers and all the purple ones are planets. These tokens could have easily have been cubes. They could have all been the same, right? But no, each color gets its own special sculpt with the silkscreen art on it. When they call it the deluxe version, they weren't kidding around. It's kind of over the top on the production, which I am all for.
Yeah, it looks great. It sounds like fun. Yeah, we have to play this. Definitely have to play this.
Yeah, we do.
I'm sold. I'm sold. What a great choice, Matt. I can't wait to try this game. I want to play it tomorrow if I can, because I love it. Just love the sound of it.
There are so many other trick-taking games that we are not talking about in this episode. I have a game called Indulgence, where it pushes and sets up that whole shoot the moon. It sets that up and it tries to get that scenario. Really, everybody's trying to shoot the moon in that game.
Cool.
Time Chase is a trick-taking game where you can go back to other tricks that you've played in a previous round. It's got a time travel theme, and you spend energy that you've earned on certain tricks to go back in time to play different cards on tricks that were played in a previous round.
Okay, put that one on the list too. We got to play that one.
I know.
Anything with time travel and I'm in. It doesn't matter. Movie, book, board game, card game, I'm in.
Delt and Scout are two terrific trick-taking games that are more like ladder climbing games, but Scout is like the super hotness right now.
Yeah, Scout is hot.
And its unique feature is it has cards that are double-sided. They're not double-sided on the face. You don't flip the card over. You turn it around. So the top half of the card is one number, but the bottom half is the other number. And similar to Bonanza, once those cards are in your hand, you cannot rearrange them. You have to keep them where they are. But there's lots of opportunities to draw new cards into your hand and to take cards from the middle and play them. It's such a unique, tremendous game. There's so much design space still yet to be explored in trick-taking games.
Yeah.
I have backed a Kickstarter called Fork, and it stands for Fox, Owl, Rabbit, Kale, and it is a food chain themed trick-taking game.
Oh, wow. Very neat. Yeah, the other one that I really like, but I'm going to save it for another episode, is called Skull King. That's a Grandpa Beck's game, and it takes the betting that we all associate with sort of common card games and adds that into trick-taking.
Okay.
But you're betting on how many tricks you can take. Very good. Very good. I like that one a lot, too, and it's quite popular.
Nice. It's so fascinating to me that we can take such a specific board game idea like trick-taking and then discover that there is a huge breadth of design space and experiences available within that tiny little slice of pie.
Yeah. And like we had mentioned earlier, it's like a lot of people think of trick-taking games, they just call them card games, right? I played cards all the time as a kid. I don't play board games, but I play card games. And, you know, it's such a rich world. Like there's hundreds of different games out there.
Yeah, exactly.
For trick-taking games that do it very, very differently. And I almost feel like they keep evolving from each other. It's like one designer will come up with something really unique and fun, and then another designer or another company will come out with something, and it just grows and grows and grows. And this tiny little part of this giant hobby, and it's such a rich and fulfilling set of games in itself.
So true. Have you played any of the games that we've talked about today? What's your favorite trick-taking game? Drop us a line at escapeintoboardgames@gmail.com. Thanks for listening to the Escape into Board Games podcast. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Escape into Board Games. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps more people discover Escape into Board Games, and you can get an Escape into Board Games t-shirt at geekygoodies.com/escapeIntoBoardGames. Or you can help us fuel the show by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/escapeintobgs.
This episode is produced by Matt McKenzie and Chris Cormier. Sound editing by Matt McKenzie. Production assistance by Sherry Cormier. Music by John Yasut and Daniel Carlton. See you at the next escape.